you pick your own seat, Tim. Well done. Oh, don't go too far away from us. And then, of course, we'd like to give you a round of applause, if you would, for the man who set the scene in short circuits for many, many years. It is, of course, Wolsey Calder. Come on ahead, Wolsey. Good to see Wolsey with us. Thanks, Wesley. I know you'll give this man a good round of applause. He's probably the man who has travelled furthest to be with us here this evening. Of course, all the way from Bradford, it is Dean Harrison. Come on, Dean. Thanks very much. And right at the very last minute, we managed to press gang this young man, so please give a round of applause, if you would, to Jimmy Hamilton. Come on, Jimmy. And last but by no means least, maybe you'd be good enough to give a round of applause to Marshall Neal. Come on, Marshall. Thanks very much. Now, George McCann said he would join me, and I'm not sure if he's up the stairs there, is he? No sign of George just yet. Tim.
Well, to be honest, 2004 we were personal sponsors or one of the personal sponsors for Denver Raw. And to be honest, I just sort of grew from there. I wasn't really interested in motorbikes at all, I'm totally honest. Formula 1 was more of a game, watching it and going to races and that. The first time I went to the Northwest was 2005, so it's not as if I was born and bred with it. It wasn't really our thing. Pipe bands is more my family's thing, so it's a bit of a step out difference with the motorbikes. I really enjoyed it. I went to the Northwest in 2005 and sort of got the bug and been involved ever since.
And then obviously moving on from that, then you I think it was 2006 and 7 that you officially started Martrain Racing, and then that's really where it all started to kick in from then.
Yeah, we did the Irish. We actually 2006 we did the British with Denver, and then 7, 8, 9 we did the Irish Superbikes and a few road races as well. Denver always did the Northwest 200, and he did the Ulster Grand Prix for the first time in 2007, and we were with him for that as well. So yeah, we really enjoyed it, and obviously Denver and Alistair, who we had then, moved on, and with different riders who went through our hands, with probably plenty, to be honest. And we've enjoyed it. It's been good fun.
And then, of course, you started to go over to the BSB, and I think first with Jack Kennedy, and if I'm right, at the very first race of that season, you picked up a race win. That must have been quite a feather in your cap, a relatively small team at that stage, going over and putting it over some of the bigger guys.
Yeah, it was obviously we were going to do our best, but no one ever dreamt we were going to win, to be honest. You go to the British, it's a very high level racing, and to go there and to get the podium was great. To win races is fantastic, and to do it at the first attempt was pretty special. Now, unfortunately, we only got half points for that because the race was cut short. But 2012 we came second. Maybe we should have won it, maybe we shouldn't have. One of those things. It happens, and if someone had told me at the start of 2012 you're going to be second in the British Championship, I haven't took it. So it was a good year.
Yeah, and unfortunately you almost did win it right down to the last race, and I don't know, I should say this or not, you maybe not want me to say this, but the only time that you had any trouble was a DNF in the final race, and unfortunately it was just a handful of points then at the end of the day.
Yeah, if you remember, Jack done his James Brown impersonation in the pit lane after in the middle of the race when the bike broke down. It was disappointing for him. It was obviously very disappointing to the team. To be honest, if you're being totally honest about it, we didn't lose it at Brands Hatch. We lost it twice when he fell off in 2 DNFs. So it's one of those things. Over the course of a season, 24 races, you're going to get DNFs, should it be through the rider falling off or mechanicals, and all you can do is your best. Riders obviously train, work hard not to fall off. We try and build bikes that don't break down but are still fast enough to win races, and it's a very fine line, I can tell you.
And then, of course, you were able to put that all right just 1 year later, 2013, when Stuart, of course, brought that Martrain machine home and the British 600 Super Sport Championship. That must have been some party that night.
Well, to be honest, I said even before we went to the final race, obviously in Brands in 13, that whatever happened, I was going home. It wasn't going to be a party because I didn't want to tempt fate by starting to arrange things. But to be fair, Stuart done his utmost, needing to throw that championship away. He had a couple of rotten DNFs in Silverstone. We got lucky a little bit on when Alistair done his barge in a thing in Silverstone and got knocked back a few points. So we clawed a few back, and going into the last race at Brands Hatch, we were something like 16th in the grid, and Alistair in the front row. It was a big ask, and I don't think anybody give Stuart a prayer. To be honest with you, the conditions weren't suiting him. It was damp. He's a real girl in the damp, to be totally honest, and doesn't like it. But to be fair to him, he pulled it out of the bag and done a great job.
And then, of course, this past season, then so close again. I think at the end, just 4 points in it. Glenn Irwin was to be with us here tonight. He's not here, and if he hadn't won that first race and the sprint race on the Saturday, would have made all the difference. But I suppose if buts and maybes don't really count at the end of the day.
No, to be fair, again, it wasn't Brown's hatch. I mean, if we'd have been getting seconds and first the rest of the time, we would have won anyway. I mean, again, it was DNFs falling off, silly mistakes that cost us. I think we didn't have any mechanical DNFs that year, or in 2014. So, it was one of those things. Again, 24 races is difficult to put it all together. You do need a wee bit of luck. Alistair got hurt, which didn't help him, and then we've seen him falling off in the Oral lap. My God, who does that? So it did happen. One of those things, and I'm sure Alistair's kicking himself even yet about that.
It's such a competitive class, and this past season it seemed to be just notched up another gear. The Triumphs, and I know you and I chatted at one stage. I suppose really you might say they're almost works machines, but that class has now got so competitive. I mean, 600 Super Sport is always competitive, but somehow this past season it just seemed to lift up a gear.
Super Sport British is brilliant. Without a doubt, it's much better race than Superbikes. But it always has been, even before we were involved. There's every race. There's 5, 6, 7 guys could win a race. All night the Superbikes, let's be honest, there's 2, 3 guys, who's going to win out of the 2, 3 guys, and that's it rains. So the Super Sport racing is really, really good. It's unfortunate that the Triumphs, although George were going to kick me here because they're releasing the old Triumphs, obviously the 675, they're revving so much harder than they really probably should do now, the way they've developed the engine. And fair play to Triumph, they've done a very good job. But it does put the rest of the 600s at a bit of a disadvantage. If I'm totally honest, and obviously, I still think the Yamaha is the best super sport bike on the market, but I think you need to be spending a lot of money to make it very fast.
And then after that disappointment, then we all got a bit of a disappointment when we heard that Martrain were not going to continue to compete in the British Super Sport. But then we heard the exciting news that instead of being over at the BSB and Super Sport, it was going to be R1 Yamahas and taking on the road. How on earth did that all come about? And first of all, was leaving Super Sport and BSB a difficult decision?
We really enjoyed it. We had 3 fantastic seasons in it. I wouldn't say it was difficult. I think we were maybe getting a little bit tired towards the end. We had been there, done it. We had been in the run of the championship for 3 years. To stay to do a 4th year was a little bit like Groundhog Day. The fun was starting to go out of it. And to be rushing, it all looks very glamorous on TV, but you see everybody packing up and running for a plane, and to get back to work the next day, it's not just as glamorous as it actually is. It's hard work. The guys are travelling through the night to go back to their own works on a Monday. So that part I'll not miss. I will miss the racing though, for its fantastic racing.
Just before we move on to the R1, as we'll have to do, but of course up in the northwest, you hadn't had an international road race win, and then on the Thursday evening, just like buses, 2 of them suddenly come along, and unfortunately on the Saturday, Alistair looking for the same bit of ground as somebody else sort of cocked up Saturday, but fantastic job on the Thursday night, and that must have given you a lot of pride as well.
Yeah, the northwest, the Thursday night, the northwest was fantastic. Alistair, I know last weekend we had that race of the year thing, and how Alistair didn't win that, I have no idea. They come from 16th to win it. Absolutely fantastic. He rode the wheels of the bike. Super stock bike 2 on a Thursday night with Michael as well. Was Michael, who was the other one he was racing with? William. The super stock race?
I don't know.
There was Stale and Fight. No, it was Michael Rutter. That's who it was, yeah. Again, fantastic racing as well, the super stock race. Saturday didn't go to plan. For Super Sport race, sort of scuppered the day. We were very lucky to get him back out again and get a podium in the Superbike. To be honest, we missed the first Superbike race because he wasn't really fit for it. And to be fair to Alistair, he dug in very deep. He was very sore. But once he got on the bike, he's northwest. He's fantastic, right? Brilliant.
And this man sitting a couple of chairs up from you then, this R1 Yamaha, when we heard the news first of all that you were going to be, I think it's Yamaha UK's official road effort this year, was fantastic news. And then we tried to prize it out of you at Bishopsport, but you weren't going to give much away that day. But then we heard, we saw the 2 of you so close together, we put sort of 2 and 2 together, but then the official news came that you're hooked up again, of course, with Dean, who we'll come to in a second, had a fantastic season last season. That must give the whole team, does it, a renewed focus, a whole new lookout from what's likely to happen this season.
Yeah, well, the R1s have turned up now. We're having now a few weeks. Dean was at the dyno today. Very encouraged what we've seen. You know, they're a brand new bike. There's always teething problems with a new bike. There's always waiting on parts and things like that. But that's part of the game, and that's one of the reasons why it's a 2-year deal, because it might take us a while just to get it to where we want it to be. I've no doubt that Yamaha has made a fantastic piece of kit, and hopefully we can do justice on the road. You got those brand new bikes, and I looked on social media the other night. You've stripped the damn thing right down to the frame. There's not a nut in a bolt of it left. You've completely stripped it naked. Yeah, I must admit, I've had a few comments about that, because there's only 200 R1Ms made, and we have 2 of them bits, and they're spread all over the floor. And there's very fancy carbon fibre bodywork and things, and it's all just in a box. So yeah, it is a bit of a shame, but that's what they give us, so we didn't say no. And the plan is then, Tim, hopefully when you get them all put back together again, then testing summer quite soon to see just how competitive this R1's going to be. Yeah, and the testing's obviously, because of the new bikes, you know, we usually go to Spain. It'll probably be in Kirkeson, because just for the time scale we've got to work with. But yeah, we've got a good testing programme now in place, and yeah, between that and the 600 as well, which Dean knows very well. I mean, obviously we had many wins with Dean in 2014 and 2 fourths at the TT, so yeah, listen, it'll be grand, it'll be alright. And of course, is the plan then to have the Superbike, the Super Stock and R1, and then obviously the 600? I see you got some new engines for that as well. The other day I saw them sitting on the bench on some of these social media sites, so you're getting up to speed. Yeah, well, Dean's R6 is new, and the engineering's new again, because you know you need to be starting with that level when you're trying to go win international races. There's no point in starting from looking through the parts bucket and trying second-hand parts. You need new parts, so hopefully we can build bikes that are reliable. The R1, you know, we haven't got any spare engines yet for them. They're coming hopefully the next week or 2. Development's going to be pretty slow at the start, but you know, it's a fine line between speed and reliability, and we'll have to find that. You know, at the minute they don't seem to lack performance, which is always a good starting point. And the schedule is then, I think it all kicks off, is it, at the Scarborough Spring Cup, and then it's pretty much planned out from there on. Yeah, Scarborough's the first meeting we've definitely penciled in to do. We may do 1 or 2 of the local ones here as well. We'll see. It depends on how the bikes get on and how we get on. But yes, the 3 Scarboroughs is definitely on the agenda. The 3 internationals and the Southern is the ones that's definitely on the calendar. And yeah, listen, Dean at the Southern last year was fantastic. I didn't get to it, unfortunately, because of work, but you know, I watched it on TV and spoke to the guys every day, and it was fantastic. Now, I mean, the Southern 100, even the guys, the Cliffy and that in the workshop, and Boost, they were saying by far it's the best meeting they've ever been to. They're treated properly, and the crack was good, and the race was fantastic as well. Obviously, you said it's a 2-year deal, and you know, you've got the 2nd year, but I'm sure your expectations and Dean's as well must be quite high. It's a brand new bike, it's a new focus, but I'm sure you're looking for more international road race wins. Absolutely. I mean, we're not really known to go and try and make up numbers. We're going to try and win races, but all you can do is your best. And you know, if you give it your best and you've got the best you can get out of your package, that's it. And you do need a big dollop of luck to win anything, to be honest. Well, I'm sure everybody in here hopes that you have everything, as much luck as you can possibly get, ladies and gentlemen. For the time being, give Tim Martin a round of applause. Thank you very much. We'll maybe keep it from our train team, and then we'll let George take over. We'll maybe pass it over to Dean. And Dean, once again, on behalf of everybody here, it's great to have you once again on this part of the world, and thanks for coming over. Last year, we can't really talk about this year until we finish last year, because you really did have a fantastic season. You started off at the Northwest, I think a 7th and 8th, and then things gradually got better, but over the TT then with Marchand, a couple of 4th places, but then winning the Super Twins and 2nd place behind the one and only Michael Dunlop on the Super Stock. You really did have a super TT. Yeah, season just went from, started bad. I've never had a good Northwest yet, to be honest, so I'm hoping this year will be slightly different than the rest. Because for some reason, I don't know what it is, it just doesn't seem to like me. I like it, it's just doesn't work the other way around. But no, it just went up from there really. TT went really well, I can't complain. It takes me until TT to get going for some reason, I don't know why. That's the way I've got to look at it, but I really need to set off out of the box for racing. I need to start better than I normally do really, so that's the one thing I'm definitely looking into doing. And again, just work from there really. And as far as the win and of course the Super Twin, at what point did you know you were in with a shout? Did you know pretty much
throughout the race I was listening on radio, and I know you were getting pit signals, but there must be always that last lap when you're listening to every noise and every rattle and every crack. At what point could you back off a little bit and say, hey, I'm just about to win an Isle of Man TT here?
Coming on to Gooseneck, I had P1 plus 18, so I thought if someone would pull 18 seconds up Mountain and a twin, they're still going to seriously quit. And to be fair, I got halfway up Mountain Mile and my fuel light started flashing. And with the AR6 that I rode with the 2014 bike, I would think we were the one and only man on the grid with one. There was nobody else using one, so they were unknown quite. I didn't even measure tank it that much and sort of rushed to get the thing going. I was thinking, I wonder how much is left in tank when fuel light comes on. Do you know what I mean? So I was looking down thinking, I was trying to work out how many miles it were back from the Mountain Mile to the start line, thinking, well, when fuel lights on, if you drive and said it'll do 20 mile, what are we doing to a gallon?
And you're doing all this at 100 mile an hour plus, working all that. I couldn't do it in a car.
If you scroll through the dash, it'll actually tell you MPG and stuff, so I was trying to figure it out. But it got back anyway. But I sort of sat behind Keane, sort of slipped through a bit of a mountain, bit of eco riding.
And you're coming onto Glen Crutchery Road, and you see the checkered flag, and you've won an Isle of Man TT. What must that feel like?
Oh, it was unbelievable. Well, the thing is, with the week we'd had with the twin, I didn't really have much luck, but I just went out at that race and just got on it and rode. I didn't actually think you were going to sort of perform as well as I had done in the other races. The other bikes were going much better. It just seemed to all work really well and came together in the end.
And then, of course, it became a sort of a family thing, because your dad Conrad then won the first sidecar race, I think it was Mike Allen, the chair, and that must have been a big day for the Harrison family as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the first time it's ever been done where father and son have won in the same week at the TT, which is a bit strange, really. He's getting old now, so I don't know how much longer he'll carry on, but I don't think he'll stop.
We always ask fathers what it's like to watch their sons racing, but what's it like for a son to watch your father just about to win an Isle of Man TT?
Yeah, no, it's definitely nerve-wracking, especially when you think of all the things that can go wrong. And what I do is I sort of think how long he's been going and how long it takes to roll off and whereabouts he'll be on the track at the point. I always sit and think that, and I was on the pit. Well, I got to sit by myself, in fact. I do get quite nervous, to be honest. So I don't sort of stand in the normal group. I'll go listen to the race on the radio.
Well, there you are. Well, back to the Isle of Man. Isle of Man seems to be a favourite place, and Tim has already said you just completely blitzed the Southern 100. I unfortunately wasn't there. I was listening all week on the radio, and every day it was Dean Harrison, Dean Harrison, and Dean Harrison. You had a super week. Yeah,
definitely. It's one of the most relaxing races you ever go on. I think it's one of the reasons why I like the Mantrain team so much. Not everything so the laid back, obviously Tim's. Well, we all want to win, and we all know what we're going to do, but because it's sort of a relaxed environment, you ride better in yourself, and the summer just makes I feel relaxed going, and I seem to click with it. I really like the track, and weather comes in. It's that time of year, isn't it? Weather's sunshine. Obviously, I know over here you don't get much sun, but I love it all too much.
Well, you certainly were the man in the meeting that day, and then just moving forward a little bit before we talk about this year at the Grand Prix, I think you did get the 1 second place, but then of course a little bit of a slip, and that sort of put paid to 2004.
Yeah, we definitely went out with a bang. But it's just one of them, it's racing. What do you do? You've got to take it on chin, pick yourself up, get a few screws and pins and scars and crack on, sort of thing.
It's just as simple as that.
Yeah, especially you got lucky. I don't really bother me, to be honest. It's just everyone says to me, "Oh, is it going to affect you?" I just nah. I don't think I'm smart enough to let it affect me.
So then the end of the season, and then you started to think about 2015, and this man sitting a couple of seats up from you then put his arm around you one day and say, "Hey, we're going to go road racing, and we're going to ride the new Yamaha R1." That must have been a pretty good day for Dean Harrison.
Oh, definitely. Obviously, because I work with the team all year, you see the way people work, and obviously the way the current team or the way they work, and you just, I don't want to put anybody down and say, but it was the way to go. For me, it was definitely the way to go. I'm not sure if it was the way to go for Tim, but for me it was.
Very good. And looking ahead then, it's always easy to look ahead, maybe more difficult to make it happen, but what are your hopes for 2015? You've had a TT win. You'd obviously like to break the Northwest 200 up, but I'm sure more than anything you'd probably want to add a TT win, and certainly for Martin and for Yamaha that would be extremely important.
Definitely. I know the TT is obviously the main event, but obviously there's more races than that, so I've got to focus on all the races really. But to us, the Northwest, I really miss, just for myself as well as the team. I want to do better, just for me really. So I'm just getting sort of a bit.
And I'm sure you're absolutely itching to get onto this R1 then. Have you had any? You haven't obviously been on it at all, and you're hoping that in a couple of weeks' time or 3 weeks maybe you'll get an outing on it at Kirkuson somewhere?
Yeah, so I've done a bit of garage racing on it, sat there making the noises. It looks the part. If it goes as well as it looks, I think we'll win.
Well, there you are. You've heard it here at the Cumber Motorcycle Show. He's going to make it a winning. I was looking through some stuff and I noticed on a profile that I think there was a couple of things. You like trials, you like motocross, and what's the other thing? You like bicycles. But then I noticed that you didn't like football. And I was wondering with Bradford, after Bradford giving Chelsea a right rubbing with their £200 million, surely you must like football now.
Yeah, it's a bit of embarrassment, isn't it? Do you think?
I think that was a no.
That's right. Chelsea getting beat with Bradford City 4-2.
And two goals down to start with.
That's like me beating Valentino Rossi. It's
Very good. Very good. And I noticed that some of the other things you like a Sunday roast. I'm not sure if we could say this, but you like a pint of bitter as well. So that's some of the things. I'm not sure if that's true, but that's what we're at.
I don't mind a pint of bitter now and again. The trouble is over you don't get.
No.
You don't get any decent beer over here, really.
There's no answer to that, is there, really?
We only have decent beer here.
Well, listen, Dean, I know everybody in here, you're part of the Martrain team. The Martrain team are part of us, and certainly I know I and everybody in here will wish you every possible success for 2015.
Well, look, cheers, thank you.
George, well, first of all, before I do that, George has had a difficult year, but he's come out the other side of it fighting fit, and delighted he's here tonight. So give him a wee round of applause. Had a difficult year.
Well, thank you very much, Roy. Thanks, folks. Here we're going to move on to now. There's an old fella standing with a black coat on him here between the two blue ones. Wilsey Coulter. We'll have to go back a few years now to try and catch up with Wilsey Coulter's racing performance. Wilsey, did you ever do shorts? I was going to say, did you ever do short circuits? You did short circuits. Did you ever do any other road race apart from the Northwest?
Yeah, we started off in 85 doing the roads. We've done Tandragee, we've done the Crooks, we've done them all that year. Tandragee was my first introduction to it. I was like, oof. What it was unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, you picked a pretty difficult course to start with.
Yeah, no, but I realised at the time that this is fun, and to be quite honest, it didn't scare me. What scared me more, because I wasn't scared of that, I was just scared of me. So
don't bother repeating that. I'll pick it on out later on.
No, it was a fantastic buzz, and went on to Kirkstown other. Matter of fact, first time at it, I led up to the last lap. First time at it, and the mate at the time, Steve Hislop, was wearing one of these wee pansy cushion suits, and I was wearing it, and believe it or not, he was skinnier than me, and my blood stopped going to my hands the lap before the last, so I ended up going around the last lap by memory. I had to will the bike to turn. That was
another good course. That was the Sherry Groom course.
The Sherry Groom course. I'll tell you a story about the Cookstown. A few years back, there was mate Martin Finnegan, of course, it must be the wrong day, there's no one there, but they moved the track. I've got this wrong.
No answer to that one. But it's a Northwest 200 line, mainly remember you from.
Yeah, Port
250 Aprilia, 250 Hondas, beating the like Ian Newton, Gary Kahn, who was the one that was in the back of my mind there just a moment ago. Kevin Mitchell even was
Kevin Mitchell, yeah, and all those guys were obviously, they were the main guys, weren't it? But for me, it's a track that I've been to from, I think about 74, watching Dad Brown and seeing Rim McCullough fall off around the back of the track. I remember where it is now.
So the school?
No, it was on the 250 or 350 at the school.
Oh, yes,
it was Maher Boy. And I just thought to myself, oh, this is so fast. It wasn't glamorous because it was raining, unusual for Ireland, no. But with it, I got this feeling that I want to do this, I just want to do this race. And as I say, I scared myself more than any road race scared me. So Port Russia had to give an exception to me. I loved it.
There wasn't as many chicanes in the track, minded in those days.
No, there wasn't.
The
Maher Boy. The Maher Boy wasn't a bad one. I think that I'd done cycling laps this year the ladies and the done one at that Mothers.
Right.
Oh, that was a really, really bad choice you were done that. That was a disaster. You know, do you like always chicane at Mother's Cross on City chicane? You sort of.
That's a really tight one.
Yeah.
It's quite tight.
It's tight. It's actually detrimental. It's dangerous.
Right.
You know, it's taking you out of your flow. You know, it could have been thought out a lot better. But again, it's there now. But again, people say chicane's right things. That there, me personally, has done. No matter why, it's fine because you still get your rhythm, you get your flow, and the rest of the chicanes have brought the speed back a bit. But as I say, that's the reason why I just kept doing Portrush, because obviously you can see people waving at you and stuff, like waving at people. You can just see pink faces, so it's nice.
You did the British Championship as well.
That was in '98.
This is why I think I maybe remember you more in short circuits than actually on the
yeah,
pure road.
and as regards like the roads, my good friend at the time was Steve Hislop, and me and him just more or less met at Penry in '85, and we stayed in touch, and all together we just raced, and he was ever at me. When we did the GT, why didn't do the GT? Scarborough went in '98 or the area to do a British Championship. I didn't want to go to it because Smutty Robinson was killed the year before. I was sceptical, thinking, oh no, I have to go. I went to it, I drove around in the middle of the night. I went out on the track the next day. I'd done some weird riding with regards to learning the track. It was like taking hairy lines, but at the end of the day I won the race, got the lap record. And there's guys in it that were notable names, you know, the likes of Steve Patrick's and Rob Orr, Kevin Mitchell, those guys. You know, and his lap as well. So those guys were there racing week in, week out. And again, I never haven't seen it since. I'll watch it all the time with fondness, and I love the character circuit. But '88, I finished second in the British Championship. I didn't even know it. I didn't know it at the end of the year. For me, it wasn't a championship I was chasing. It was just the love of competition when I was across there.
Was it the finance that kept you from doing any more Grand Prix?
No, I didn't even see Grand Prix. I was following, like I said, my mate Gary. I was following him. He was my target. Everywhere he went, I wanted to go and try and beat him. So he was my target, and he set the bar fairly high. And he got in the Grand Prix, and then obviously it all ended from 1990. So I was like a lost sheep. What do I do now? Where to go? You know, no, that was it. It was just more or less like following Gary for competition.
So you're still involved in motorbikes?
I still do. I still like, actually now, back then I wouldn't tell a person a thing what I was doing, but now I tell them everything.
Yeah, but you're not worried about the competition now?
No, not at all. But
back in those days, you didn't want to give too many secrets away to Rob Orm as you were talking about earlier in those boys.
Exactly. Well, those guys who weren't quick to tell you what gear and stuff was. Over here was the normal. I remember being at Aberdeen Carcass, and it was like, go down and see what so-and-so's running, there's bike, there's brackets. You just have to stop and count them. You know, but now you can't get into any of these setups or whatever stuff. But back then it was fun. Of course, it's a different level now. Everything is so much more professional. You know, garages are there, they're manned, they've got like proper staff, and doors closed. Back in racing years ago, at the domestic level here, it was just like go in and see what such and such doing, and everybody used to sit on the line. I think it was in the day they used to have an amnesty race. Back then we used to have to push starter bikes. See Jim McCullough here, he was tortured trying to get me to start my DZ350. I could never start it. I think I was the fittest guy in Ireland because I used to push it for about 3 laps. And I think at the end of it, come the amnesty race at the end of the day, it was a clutch start. I used to get really excited for that, and everybody sitting on the line. And it was all, the minute you got the result, you were down to the brown trout. And again, brown trout or wildfire, there was 2 places for stop up, which back then it was different. It was just different.
Brown trout out of the way, like.
Brown trout out of the way, yeah.
But then, are you heading away to Spain next month?
I know. 2 weeks time we're joining Ram Racing, which I'm bringing 35 guys out, on a young Eugene McManus. You'd be interested to know he's coming out. Eugene's son.
Is he young anymore?
No, Eugene's son. 15,
oh, Eugene's son.
15. Right. He's never ridden a motorcycle before. He's ridden a mini moto, but he's coming out on a 125. So
do we expect to see him in the short circuits this year then?
Yeah. Eugene's kept away from the bikes. He hasn't even had a photograph. Eugene's very much like myself, where the photographs are limited in the house, you know. And the young guys never asked him about it, never turned him about it. But now he's had to go on this mini moto thing, and he likes it. So apparently he's motocross for years. So you just give them a wee go out here. So it's going to be interesting.
Well, the trip that you go to Spain on, it's more than just competition guys that you're dealing with out there.
This one, it's really for competition guys, and the next one I'm doing 2 weeks later is just going to be for people that are coming off their road bikes, people that have been through their work, their trades. They've earned plenty of money, but back then they hadn't a penny to put into bikes, so now they've earned themselves a few quid and they want to have a play. So I take it upon myself to watch these people and make it safe and make it as easy as I possibly can. So let them realise that we're not all really silly people, because everybody's got this.
That's very polite.
Yeah.
I do it anyway.
I am polite. No, that's the whole beauty about it, is regards just putting something back into it, positive.
Ground to make up on lap 2, lap 3, and I think by maybe the last but one lap you were right on it.
Yeah, no, the last lap, I was going on the last lap, I was counting it down, I was watching ahead, because you can see lots around Portrush, you can see obviously your opposition where they were, and the last lap was going down towards York Corner, coming out of the chicane, and I got a -3, and I could not stop smiling, because I knew then I had fairly well, so 3 seconds, I knew then I could pull his locker that I was behind. And so I was quite happy. And I told him afterwards, I was fairly smug about it, just to get him wound up.
I'm sure you did. Ladies and gentlemen, what a big round of applause for Jimmy Hamilton. Jimmy's been good enough to join us at absolutely no notice at all, Jimmy, and as a result I don't have any notes, but George is here with us. You started with Wilson Craig last season, and I hope I'm not going to be disrespectful. A little bit of a slow start, but then when you got to Kells, and I remember the smile on your face that day when you got the man of the meeting, then it was on up to the bush, and it really, you built momentum. Once you got that Honda lit, you certainly made it work.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's funny what Dean said about, that he struggled to get going until he got to the TT, and I found for me it was after the TT before I get going, and I really put that down to lack of testing at the start of the year, and I never hardly rode a bike. I maybe rode the bike 1 or 2 days before I went to the Cookstown at the start of the season. It just wasn't enough. I was rusty, and at the time I maybe felt like I was riding good, but I quite obviously wasn't. But come back from the TT and I went to Kells, and something just clicked that day, and I knew that I came away knowing that I'm closer here. I haven't been this close all year. I haven't rode that well all year. I didn't win any races that day, but I was in the hunt in every race, and I came away feeling good. And I went to the bush, and I won every race. And people might say, "Oh, but who was there? Who finished second? Whatever." But Dan finished second in the Superbike race, but I broke the lap record in every single class. I smashed the lap record in every single class, and you can only beat who's there. And I went to Skerries the week after that, and once again I was on a great day. I won the first Superbike race. I was on the podium in the 600, won the Super Twin race, breaking lap records again. And unfortunately, me and Dan had to come in together, and I went down, and I ended up getting badly hurt. And it was sort of a bit of a downer for me, because it was only a few weeks that I had the season. I started to make the season work, and started riding good, and then all of a sudden a few weeks later it was took off me, and I was lying in the hospital, and I wasn't feeling good, and I was going to miss a whole lot of races, and it was definitely very depressing now. But 2014 I'll never look back on and say it was a good year, but I think coming the end of 2014, and I got back on the bike at Killalane, and I was running at the front in the Superbike races again, and I think it's a season I'll look back on and think to myself that that's the time that I made the jump on a big bike to be able to run at the front.
You started off your career obviously on short circuits, but then you moved to the roads. And what was that? What was the thinking behind that? Is that where you saw yourself going? Is that where you saw the best opportunities? Just what led you that way?
Well, I'd done the whole BSB thing. I'd won a British Championship. I thought to myself, 2010 didn't go my way after I won it. Maybe I laid back and never put enough effort in afterwards, or I don't know what reason it is, but it just wasn't meant to be for me. And I thought I'd come back home, and at that time Glenn Irwin was making the jump to British Championship, and he had lots of support from home behind him, and I thought, if I come back home, race at home, try and gather up more support to go back to British Championship. But I always wanted to do the Northwest 200, and I went there. I never got racing that year because Ryan had put the oil down, and the rain and the bomb scare and all that there carry on. But I loved it. I absolutely loved every minute of the Northwest, and I thought to myself, I want to do a wee bit more of this. And I rang Ryan and said, look, any chance you'd maybe give me a bike for the Ulster Grand Prix? And he said, you know, at that time I just planned on doing maybe the internationals, and maybe even thought I would maybe do the TT. And Ryan said, come and do the Mid-Antrim here, give it a try. And you know, when I in practice, never got racing that day either because of the oil and people putting diesel on the track or whatever it was. But you know, I fell in love, and from then on, that's all I wanted to do was go road racing.
Well, you certainly did, and you certainly turned out some fine performances. 2000
last year in Honda's. Well, I'm talking about the Superbike, admittedly. This year on a Suzuki. Okay, the 600 you're on is a Honda, isn't it?
Yeah.
But so it's all changed for the Superbikes.
As far as riding different motorbike, that's not the problem. It's the knowledge for each one, you know, of knowing how to set them up. But I'm lucky enough that, you know, I'm stepping into a team that's just run the Suzuki for, you know, for a few seasons, and the 600 I've had for a season with Dan on it, and I've got plenty of experience on a Super Twin, so I should be able to help them get the Super Twin where it's supposed to be, and I'm hoping that I'll step onto the bike and they'll have a good base setting on both the Suzuki and the 600, and you know, it shouldn't be too far away. I ride 3 different bikes in one day anyway, so I'm used to jumping off one bike and on to the next one and on to the next one, and maybe a small change in each of them, so I can adapt quickly enough to that.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, what about a big round of applause for Jimmy Harper. We'll come to the last man by no means least, but George here ready to interrogate the bull Marshall here, so away you go.
Marshall, off to Mandela this year. I missed it for a year, you know, so I'm trying to catch up. Didn't you get injured in Mandela Park this year?
Yeah, on the 5th of October I fell off and sort of midway through the weekend.
That's the reason why you couldn't come to the Sunflower.
Yes,
memories coming back to me now.
I was wee mizzle of rain come on, but it wasn't on. Maybe I was being greedy trying to win the race, and while I was leading I didn't want to put my hand up because it wasn't raining heavy enough, and Cody he was doing the same, so he took the lead off me, and he didn't want to put his hand up, but both of us wanted to believe in the race if it was going to be stopped. So
what were you riding then?
I was riding the Ran McGill Kawasaki ZX10. So I was sort of coming round. Cody had just took the lead off me. It was sort of a wee bit back and forwards, and I took the lead off him on the last corner, but the wee miss of the rain, I drifted because of the tighter line. I went a wee bit wide leading the corner and touched the paint and the high side, but I sort of landed back on the bike again on the left. The neck of the glove caught in the underside of the clutch bracket that holds the clutch, and then she fell on the left hand side, so my arm was caught on the bike and dislocated my left arm at the elbow out over the top of the fuel tank. But I could see all this while I was getting trailed down the road, and I knew my arm wasn't in good shape.
So the arm looks okay now, like, and it's going
it hasn't got the full straightness in it, but straight enough till.
Good enough for next year again?
Good enough if I get a motorbike and stuff. It's just a bit of a blip, you sort of forget about it after a while.
2015, many years is it since you started racing? Maybe back in Kyrgyzstan in the Billy Nuts champion races, round about the turn of the millennium there.
Well, before I go away from Mandela, I broke my pelvis in 3 places as well, as because whenever my arm was caught, the bike rolled and just sort of led me into Teddy Bread then. So I've sort of still recovering.
You've had a couple of big ones in the last, well, you had a big one at Brands Hatch, but that's what, 3 years ago maybe?
Well, it was 3 years ago at Brands Hatch where I crashed and cracked me bone in my neck and the leg and bone in my hand and stuff, so I was laying up for a wee bit there too.
But back at Kyrgyzstan, year 2000 or thereabouts, on the wee 250 Aprilia, that was a whopper wee class, wasn't it? Real wee bikes. The once anyway, but obviously it was the same ride.
I started racing 250 Aprilias in 99, and at the end of 99 I just says that's me. I'm finished. I just wanted to do all the tracks in England, and that's where I started. My first race was at Cadwell Park. Never raced before.
On the wee Aprilia?
Yeah.
Because you were on the other extreme, the big 1000 Aprilia,
yes,
shortly after that, didn't you?
I started them then in 2001, the big 1000. So I done the 1000 Aprilia 2001 and 2002 and 2003. 2003 wasn't really a good year. It was an outbreaking session between me and motorbikes.
Did you win any of those British championships? You were there or thereabouts?
I won the British National 1000cc Aprilia Championship 2001 and 2002. Right. And you get a brand new 1000cc Aprilia gift to you for winning the championship, so I got 2 of them.
And you were on was it the same bike you were riding that Jamie was riding when you were both riding for Wilson Craig?
Yeah.
Or was it 2 separate bikes?
Well, they're much the same, but he has two super bikes.
Right.
One of them's built more for the TT, and I don't really get riding that bike because I think maybe Wilson's afraid of me breaking the tank on it.
Have you still the option of that bike for some races, or are you committed now to the Kawasaki?
I don't really speak to Wilson a big time, and he usually speaks to my mechanic Willie. Maybe after a few races at the start of the year, Marshall's looking at bikes.
He knows he's more sensitive, Willie.
So it seems to be an option there for me sometimes whenever I'm speaking to them. If the guys are not using the bike for the roads or vice versa.
Thank you for coming along, and maybe you would give them the best possible send off and wish them all the best for 2015. Thanks very much. Thanks very much to Dennis. Dennis brought along the PA and set it up, so thank you, Dennis. Thank you.